and welcome to episode number 43 of the Eavesdrop podcast. Maddie, am I correct on the 43? 43 it is. We have a very, very special guest, an honorable person, and I am thrilled to have you here because there's not a lot of people in esports that have a longer tenure than I do in esports. Actually, there's a bunch of people.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. Most of them been on your show already.
Just me. Yeah, no, but yeah. Really quickly, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, Hecz, and ButcherBox, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them as the podcast progresses. But Sir Scott, what's your last name? Smith. I knew that. Mr. Coca-Cola Olympian himself, right? Isn't that you worked at the Olympics?
Sure, but not an Olympian.
No,
not,
you didn't compete.
Not as an athlete. Yeah.
No, you competed. So it's like me, right? Yeah. We have all the trophies here. I didn't do anything
to
get them.
That's exactly it.
But I helped. And
you were part of the team.
Yeah, I was definitely part of the team. I was there for all the headaches, which is what counts. So when I made this podcast, when I decided to make this podcast, I knew that you were going to be one of the people that I had to have on here because what this has quickly evolved into for me is a sort of blip in time that's cemented in time for people to go back, because esports will be studied at some point or another. And if we had this sort of medium, whether it's the internet, radio, or whatever, back in the day when this incredible country was being built, 13 colonies, with the colonization of everything, this sort of thing would be studied. The conversations, the train of thoughts, everything that was happening. So I knew that I needed to have somebody like you, and I am gonna try my damnedest to get everybody that has ever been a part of this thing involved in the podcast, because I do think that people will study it. And although we will not be getting 1 million views this month on the podcast, in the future we will. I guarantee that all my episodes will get up there in viewership.
All right.
What do you think?
I think goals are good things to have.
Crazy goals?
I don't know how crazy that is. You never know.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's very doable, especially because, again, we are sort of a part of an invention that has taken off so quickly, but is still in its infancy. I think toddler. Can we call esports the toddler phase?
That's a good way to put at it.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of our little angry twos, maybe still a
Yeah,
little bit.
the terrible
stomping around.
twos.
Terrible twos, right?
Terrible
yeah,
twos.
You're a dad. You know these things.
Yeah.
Stomping around a little bit, maybe kind of figuring out our way still. But no more diapers.
No more diapers. Yeah. When do you think that period ended? Now, I will say
diapers
this.
ended when people started paying $25 million for a franchise in a city, maybe. I don't know. That's pretty adult.
That's very adult.
That's very adult.
So 2 years ago then.
Yeah, maybe a couple years.
2 years. I say the same thing.
Yeah.
I will say that I wore diapers until I was I think 12.
No.
Okay, I'm totally joking.
Yeah,
I always make that joke about my brother because
he did.
No,
he still wears them.
No,
Wait.
but he did use the bottle until he was like 9, and that's more of a parental thing. So, Mom, I'm sorry that I'm telling the secrets.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Yeah, and I think he wore diapers until he was like 7 and a half.
He hates you right about now. He doesn't watch your stuff anymore. So
no, I need to have him on too, right?
There
He's got a very interesting insight into the behind the scenes of OpTic coming up, because he was the reason why I started making videos at the end of the day. So enough about him and me. Let's talk about Sir Scoots, the legend. When did you start? I'm going to ask you, who are you today? Let's start there. Who are you today?
Wow. I guess I'm trying to still figure that out, like most of us are. I think I'm pretty solid with who I am. I'm a very outspoken advocate of player rights and all those kind of things in esports. Gamer. Mm-hmm. All my life a gamer, long before the word esports was, developed or anyone was really competing. I'm a little older than most people. I've shaved all my gray hair off, so maybe I look a little younger.
Yeah,
but,
you do.
I'm 53.
No.
Yeah. So I started gaming as a kid, like my very first gaming experience would have been a handheld Coleco Mattel football game, where you played
They had handhelds?
Yeah, a little handheld Mattel football game, like 1970s. Beep, 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 beep. You had to move a little.
Yeah.
You probably played like retro versions of this handheld thing, but and then Ataris and all the consoles back then. Arcades were big for when I was growing up. You know, you saved your quarters, you went and put your quarter up to beat the next guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of time in arcades. I would say in this world, 1999. In 98, a game called Half-Life comes out on the PC and changes the PC genre of single-player games, and then all these multiplayer mods started to come out on top of this game, and these two guys in Canada made this little mod called Counter-Strike. And that's really what kind of grabbed me in the idea of the competitive world of gaming and like playing with other humans.
Yeah. How was the lag back then?
It was all based on the network infrastructure was good, but it was really all about your bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
So you had people that were on dial-ups,
Yeah.
right? And then you started with like a 14.4 modem, right? But then they came out with 28.8 modems, right? And then you could take two of those modems and shotgun them, as they call them, together, and you'd put them together like they do with video cards now.
Yeah.
And then you had 56, and if you were that, so it was all the race of who had the best modem.
Yeah.
Because that definitely translated to your connection into the computer.
Yeah, easy with the tapping.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my
No,
banging. That's
yeah, I'm the same way. I literally had to force myself to not do that because my audio guy was like, "Stop
doing that shit."
So it was all about your dial-up. Where did you live at this time?
Phoenix, Arizona, basically.
Okay, so
I've been in Phoenix for quite a while.
Near a major city to where the infrastructure would be there, not in Frisco, Texas. In those days, there was nothing but
Correct
cattle
and
like rattlesnakes,
wagons and stuff.
Horses. No, it wasn't that.
No,
actually, maybe
there might have been horses here still.
Yeah. Like wild horses, like Broncos.
No, I meant more like horses and carriages.
Yeah, maybe, man. Texas, which I have fallen in love with. I was born in Texas. Everybody knows that. But I fell in love with Texas and all its glory of history and being sort of the last to it. It's insulting, I think, a little bit, but I don't mean it as an insult. Like slow to adapt to the future, in a sense. Not Frisco. Frisco is very progressive, and it's an amazing city, the best city to live in the United States.
It's blowing up, isn't it?
Yeah, shout out to my man Mayor Cheney. That's my boy.
There you go, Mayor Cheney.
Yeah, he's the
Interesting
man.
last name, Mayor Cheney. Interesting last name.
Yeah, not the same guy.
I would hope it's not the same guy.
No, Chris.
Frisco might be.
Yeah. Chris is still around. I've been trying to get him on the podcast as well, so I can.
He'd be a good,
get his perspective on what happened. So, anyway, so 1999, you start playing Counter-Strike. Connection is good because you live near a major city. What was the scene like back then? Like, at what point? Okay, let me ask you this. You know this answer. Where did competitive gaming start? And don't say Donkey Kong. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it actually started with the fighting game community. I mean, in earnest, obviously there's been competitions here and there forever, whether it's the Donkey Kongs or those kind of games. But I really think the fighting game guys with Street Fighter and those games, in their arcade scene would probably have to be considered the first real competitive gamers in that sense.
Yeah. And then for PC shooters, Counter-Strike is the mother of all mothers.
Yeah, I'd say Quake.
Quake
first, different game type. 1v1 versus a team game, although there were team games.
Slasher keeps talking about that. Still to this day talks about something.
You have to nod to Quake.
Of course.
It is one of the greatest, definitely the greatest dual game ever made. I mean, they capture the flag in different TDM kind of team variants, but I would say, Quake very quickly led right to Counter-Strike for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to almost put myself in a position where kids nowadays, and young adults for that matter, see the new games that are coming out and don't tip the hat to the old ones because they never played it. And I sort of feel, I sort of understand that mindset because, Quake and Counter-Strike, I've never played those. Half-Life, I never really played those games. My real interaction with my first game was that one, that same disc that's in there, Call of Duty 2 on the 360. But by then, 2006, where there had already been millions of, well, not millions, but hundreds of tournaments in Counter-Strike, and a scene had already been established. At which point did you start get into the actual esports side of it? What made you get into that?
I mean, I would say, again, before it was called esports, it would have been that same year because some of the guys I bumped into in a Counter-Strike server were in a clan. And I didn't know what a clan was. To me, when someone said clan to me, I'm thinking like Ku Klux Klan. Like, what are you talking about? Clan? Like Irish clan? Like, what do you and that's what teams were called back then. They were guilds if you were in MMOs or you were in a clan, right? And I was playing in a Counter-Strike server, and this guy's like, "Hey, you're doing great teamwork. Would you want to be in our clan?" And again, as a older guy, I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he explained it to me, and I'm like, "Oh, like a team."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, we play every Tuesday." And so leagues and those kind of competitions started up really quick with Counter-Strike because there was already some precedent with Quake and other stuff. So it was just, they grabbed this team game, they put it into league play. We figured out how to play it. Rules, the community figured out rules. Like Alchemist, who's here with me right now, helped, figure out overtime rules and how do we play this thing. And Europeans were playing it one way, we were playing it slightly different. So then universally, we came up with the way that we all play it now. But I would say like 2000, like, or again, right after it came out, it got sucked right up. And
Yeah.
CPL started using it, which was our big tournament organizer here in the States, here in Texas. Actually, you'd come to Dallas twice a year and play at a CPL event and kind of test your mettle, you know?
And did you start out as a player, or did you go straight to management?
I did play for this team, UGP, for a very brief
Which
time.
stood for?
Unitary Guerrilla Platoon. Still
Love
the coolest clan name ever. UGP.
I don't know. There used to be this this clan in Call of Duty 2 called SWAT.
SWAT's good.
Yeah, SWAT's good. And there was like this what I love about that period in time is that everybody came up with the cool names.
It was all cool names, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing. You weren't thinking about marketing and sponsors.
No,
and
no,
like,
no.
oh, is that PC friendly? You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't come up with the name; it was already made up. And I was playing on it, and then very quickly realized, like, look, there's way better kids than me. Let me try to run this little clan. And again, like run as in organized practices and stuff, not necessarily sponsorship deals or anything like that it is now. But we'd go to CPLs, we'd save our money, and I'd help kids buy plane tickets, and we'd come to these CPL events to literally get our ass kicked by everybody else because we wanted. That's how you got better, right? So you'd let the Euros, you know, you'd save all your money, you'd bring your computer to Dallas, and then,
You would have to bring your own computer.
yeah, it was BYOC. So you bring your own computer. You know, they had tournament machines where you'd step to for the tournaments, but literally it was a big BYOC where everyone practiced, and then you just step up and go play on their computers.
Got it.
But even some of the earlier rounds, you played on your own
Yeah,
computer. You
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
go to the tournament area in the earlier CPLs, and just fell in love with the idea of like, this is like a sport to me. This is just like it. You know, like these guys are really good. We've got a rule set. People were starting to radio broadcast. You know, there were radio stations that were kind of forming before video was easy to capture, and then very quickly led to video capture. Guys like DJ Wheat and other people were like, oh, we can go to the next level and make it start looking like a sport we watch, right? And at that time, again, I was doing UGP, but there were a bunch of guys in North America that had formed this media company called GotFrag. And they were sports guys that were into Counter-Strike. And they had a team called RDW before they started GotFrag, and they sent, all the guys went to Dallas, except for like a couple guys stayed home. And there was no way to find the scores, right? There was no easy way to find out who was beating who. So these guys at RDW, you know, there was no websites that were covering it. There was, you know, there was no Twitter. There was no easy instant gratification of like who won that match.
There's
right?
no YouTube.
Yeah, no YouTubes. And so these guys at RDW, this one guy at home said, just tell me the scores and I'll put them on the website. And so they started tracking all the scores that weekend, not only their teams, but everybody's team. And they kept crashing their hosting service because everybody realized, like, oh shit, we can get all the Euros could read how the Euros were doing. And the light bulb went off on Midway and all these sports guys' minds. Like, there's something here. There's content is king, as we always say, right? And so out of them crashing their server all weekend, they went, let's form an ESPN type website where we really cover this. And Midway, Trevor, big sports journalist kind of guy, so you know he took the helm of it, and then GotFrag is born. I joined those guys about a year or two after they start, and to kind of help them just kind of organize it, did kind of editor work. I'm not a writer myself, not really a journalist in that sense, but helped organize the logistics of the content creation and the flow of it. Did that for a little while. GotFrag got bought by MLG. When MLG was on their big hiring spree of buying companies, kind of when Sepso and Sundance were kind of to the side, and they brought in Mike Bromberg and all those guys from the AOL world to kind of, they were trying to boost their portfolio to then maybe sell to ESPN as a company, right? So we were one of the companies they grabbed to build under them. They gave us a bunch of money. So we opened a little thing called GotFragtv, and we were able to actually start broadcasting events and, again, take the video idea and, like, sports it up, right? So we had a small little studio in Phoenix, did that for a little while. MLG kind of changed directions. They pulled our financing and basically said, you know, GotFrag, we're not really sure about it anymore, you know, but we like a couple of you guys. Will you move to New York, right? And we were all like, yeah, you're going to dump Counter-Strike. You're going to dump the website. You want me to move to New York to help you with Halo? Yeah, not my game. And no offense to the Halo guys, right?
No.
But that's their bread and butter, right? And so, you know, Jason and I both kind of said, thank you, but no thank you. We'll go into the freelance world. But that's kind of what got me into both the team side with UGP and then the media side and the idea of content creation and covering it on the GotFrag side.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had Sundance here. He told me the story about, you know, that, but he didn't go into the details of it. So I respect the fact that you said not my thing, you know, because you had a job to do in the sport that you love, and that to me is awesome because you need to be passionate about the thing that you like. I would have never gotten to where I am if I didn't love Call of Duty the way that I love Call of Duty. You know, when people talk about whether or not, you know, the franchising thing is gonna work or not, that's to be determined, right?
Totally.
TBD.
Yep.
But I never looked at anything that I do through the eyes of, is this entire thing gonna work? I'm gonna focus on my thing, and I'm gonna try to make my thing as successful as I can. And if I can help everybody else that's doing the same thing that I'm doing or that's a part of, especially now that we're all attached in the same league, it makes it easier for me to share ideas, strats as to how to build something bigger, because our wagons are all hitched to, I don't know the same, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
And you know, for me, the confidence comes from the fact that I've been doing Call of Duty since 2005, you know, and I know the space. More importantly, I know the audience and what the audience likes to see. The same way that you know what the Counter-Strike audience likes, needs, wants, and you know, that is the same way that I feel about this thing, which is where the confidence comes from. If I didn't feel confident about this, you better believe I would have been the first one fucking running.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, you know, the old saying goes, like, you know, what's the gal that brought you to the dance, right? Go home with that gal, right? And like, again, we were deep in Counter-Strike. The game was still blowing up, but again, MLG was changing financial tact, and I'm not a guy that would live in New York City. That was also part of it for me. Is like, even if I would have been a Halo guy, I would have been like, oh, New York City, man, I like to visit it, but I don't know if I could live here, mate, you know? So it just all lined up that we both really like, and Jason very similar, like not a big city guy like that, you know? But so just, you know, said no, thank you, and we both went freelance. Jason went back to his real job. I always had an event logistics job that I was doing on the side. You mentioned Coca-Cola. So during most of this, until actually Evil Geniuses later, I was doing both jobs. I had my real career because it was a freelance thing, so I could take gigs and not take gigs, so I could work it around my gaming stuff. But I always had that to fall back on. So when MLG is like, hey, this is the deal, I was like, no, I'll just go back to my little world again and figure out what I can do next in gaming. Yeah.
So you go into the freelance world, and what does that look like? You used to work at the Olympics. You worked the Olympics. I don't know. These are all like legends. Legendary tweets that I've seen throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean, my old career was event logistics for corporations throwing big events. So it could be hospitality events, it could be trade shows,
give me an example.
Product launches. Olympics is a good example. So Coca-Cola is a primary sponsor of the Olympics. So when they do the Olympics, they get tickets, they get hotel rooms, they get all sorts of stuff. They then use that stuff to schmooze their clients. They bring in the vice presidents of McDonald's, all the people that buy their products. Could be world leaders, could be celebrities that they endorse. And they basically throw a party. And I was part of the team that helped orchestrate that party, event logistics, right? So that's the exciting stuff. So we would go to Olympics, we'd take them to big events, you know. But then I would also do product launches at, you know, the Dallas Convention Center, where it might be 5,000 Pfizer reps learning about the new drug that Pfizer's going to sell that year, and then getting trained. And it's all the logistics of making sure the meeting rooms are all right, the food and beverage is all right. Kind of like a concierge group that travels specifically for a group of people.
That's insanity.
Yeah, and so that took me all over the world for about 20 years.
I would have lost all my hair if I did that.
It was cool. It's like basically you're a hired gun, right? It's all you do. So you don't have any long-term ownership. You know, you come do the gig and then you get out, right? So really cool in that sense, but not something that's got a super necessarily, like, after a while, it's like, okay, another hotel, another flight, another Olympics. I did 8 Olympics. I did 3 World Cups.
Jesus.
Did 5 Masters at the Augusta. Like, that will always be cool. But eventually, it's like any other job. You're like, oh, fuck, I got to go where again? Can I swear? Shit, too late.
No, you're good.
So even that got a little mundane, but I kept all my contacts, so I could just fall back into it. So I started doing more and more of that. And of course, out of GotFragtv, we were both pretty good at producing and directing shows. So I started freelancing, directing, did stuff for ESL. StarCraft 2 starts blowing up a little bit. So I was doing freelance production work for people, directing shows, calling shows, that kind of stuff.
That's so crazy, dude. So, you know, you went from traveling a whole bunch into esports, where you're required to travel a whole bunch.
On a different budget, mind you.
Yeah.
From Ritz-Carltons to, like, not Ritz-Carltons, you know, in the sense of where you're staying.
So what year did you join Evil Geniuses, and how did that come about?
Let's see. Oh boy, I'm not good with years anymore.
Yeah, and if you can put in a good word with Alex, I'd like to sit across the.
Alex would be good on your podcast.
Oh, incredible! Yeah,
He's slowly kind of making his way back into esports.
With a bang, mind you.
Jason? When did we? 2008. Jason's he's got more brain cells than me. He's younger. I'd known during the GotFrag time, I had met this young little kid, Alex Garfield, and we used to always joke. He got involved with Evil Geniuses because he was friends with some of their Canadian. They were a Canadian team that started with Quake before Alex. Very small, just a couple guys doing Quake. They then added a Counter-Strike team, Canadian Counter-Strike team. Alex, if I recall, was going to school with a couple of them or knew a couple of them, Bloodshot and a few other guys, and their management dipped. And they had a manager who had got some sponsorship deals, and this guy Mo like dipped with the money, supposedly bought a yacht, like that kind of story, right? So they reached out to Alex and said, "Hey man, will you just help us, man? Like we just need some plane tickets to go to this event." You know, no one was getting paid back then. It was like you just need travel, right? Yeah. And Alex was like, "Yeah, man, I love you guys. I'll see what I can do." And so the other guys that were kind of the Quake guys had disappeared. So he, took over the Evil Geniuses brand. It was just these Canadian guys, and started knocking on doors, and literally just started getting them more and more business, more and more deals, and from that, slowly grew that into a beast. So while he was doing that, I was at GotFrag. And so he would show up at events and he'd be like, "Hey," actually, backtrack a little bit. He's the one that got me into GotFrag originally because he was working for GotFrag, volunteering for GotFrag, and he was running their like movie review department. Back then, much like you guys make movies, people are making Counter-Strike Frag movies, right? And all sorts of high-end, crazy movies, right? Yeah. And so GotFrag had a movie section where you could go watch the movies, download the movies, and
you're talking about like montages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he was starting a little system where they were going to rate them. So he would have a few people, and you would leave a review, like, "What'd you think of that?" "Oh, good, 8 out of 10, whatever." So he reached out to me, he's like, "Hey, would you just watch movies and review them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty easy. Yeah, and so that got me into their IRC channels where all the staff was, right? And they're like, "What the fuck is Scoots doing in our channel?"
What's an IRC?
You don't even know, man. Internet relay chat. It's chat, typing. It's Twitch chat, but with your own server.
Got it.
Right?
It's like Discord.
Everyone had their own, but just text. Yeah. And everyone had an IRC channel. You would go there, right, and hang out and idle in their channel. That's how you talk back and forth.
Did it take time for the message to be relayed?
No, it was quick.
Okay.
It was quick.
Because there's a video game museum here in Frisco where they literally tell you this is how long it used to take, and then you push a button, and then you see the light, and then it goes into the other receiver, and I'm like,
no, it was pretty quick.
Okay, good.
And so from that point, so I did a little bit of that, and nothing really became of the movie review thing. But that's how I kind of got to know Alex a little better. And then every time, and so he starts doing this EG thing, and so he's always like, "Hey, will you come help me?" He knew I was a little older, a little more worldly, a little more business experience. And I'm like, "Alex, why in the hell would I go work for your little team?" Because he wasn't like the complexities of the day. He wasn't 3D back then. Like he wasn't the big dog, right? I'm like, "Why would I go work for you?" Like, I'll use the term Dallas Cowboys. But like, why would I go work for the Dallas Cowboys when I work for ESPN? Right? We cover everything. Why would I step down in that sense? And it was always very playful. And he's like, all right. Well, you let me know, right? You let me know. So fast forward, he builds this thing into a monster of a team, because while I'm at GotFrag, CGS, this championship gaming series, debuts in North America, right? And I don't know if any of your guests have talked about it, but it was DirecTV's product, and they, jammed these wacky franchises together. They had to play several different games. So what happened is Jason Lake sold Complexity to the CGS. Mm-hmm. So that brand leaves the open ecosystem. Yeah. Craig Levine sells Team 3D, the two biggest teams in North America. They have all the marketing deals. They leave, right? Jack's Money Crew, another smaller team, goes. Basically, pandemic, all these different teams basically get sucked into the CGS, and they're not allowed to take any other sponsors with them. Yeah. All clean, all free and clear, right? So Lake's team becomes like the Dallas Complexity and New York 3D. They all get city branded, but they never had to move to cities. It's a little different franchise model, not a franchise model. But what happened is Alex Garfield, his Counter-Strike team left to go play in the CGS, but he stayed at EG and then was able to knock on everybody's doors because they were all looking for teams, and all the top teams had left. So that he ends up with Intel, he ends up with Razer, he ends up with all the top of all the categories and builds from there. So he's rocking and rolling. This GotFrag thing falls apart eventually. We all leave. Then he knocks on my door, as a smart ass he is, and he's like, "Okay, I'm a little bigger now." Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now do you want to come work with me? You know, and I'm like,
What failed before we go out? What failed in GotFrag? What was it that led to its I
think a couple things. I think we were bought for the wrong reasons. We weren't bought to be developed to be a bigger content machine and develop more games like we had done with Counter-Strike. We were bought to add to a portfolio to be sold, right? Simple as that. And when and it's also pre-Twitch, pre-free bandwidth, pre any of that stuff. So it's much harder to sell those products, right? So we can't monetize you. I don't think they tried to monetize us as well, because they were also trying to monetize Halo and their tour and everything they were doing, right? So I think it was a combination of like, we got to trim the fat, so we're going to trim this, and this, right? And again, the crash hits, right? Because that's also hurts CGS, Silicon Valley crashes, all that kind of stuff. That recession kind of hits. So everyone's marketing dollars got a little tighter. And they're not going to close New York, so they're easier to close us in Phoenix, right? It's unfortunate that it happened, but in retrospect, like everything happens for a reason, right? Your journey is meanders, right? Good and bad, right? Good yin and yang karma. So just part of the journey, If it doesn't happen, who knows, right? So then, again, doing some freelancing, then I do join Alex, right? I'm like, you know what? Give me a piece of this thing. I'll come play with you, right? And so I did that for a couple of years. I still did a little freelancing on the side. But then we were able to build, this is then now StarCraft 2 blows up. And we were able to kind of really take EG to the next level. Right? We're the first one to sign a big Monster. Monster came in because of EG. Like they're here everywhere now.
Yeah.
But Monster didn't touch esports until EG. We were the first one. Red Bull was already here doing other stuff. So that's how I kind of finally went to work with Alex.
Man, what was your title? COO?
CFO? I was COO mostly, and then there was a brief time that I was CEO. He took a little sabbatical, and I took over for a little while as he kind of figured out what he wanted to do with his life.
Yeah.
I think Alex aspires to do some musical stuff, musician kind of stuff, and he just needed a break from the grind. And, so I was like, I'll take over for a while, but you're not going anywhere. Just go, take a break, And then he came back, and I shifted back to COO, and he was CEO again.
Very cool. At what point were you there? When did you leave? Because were you there? Obviously, you still had ownership when they got bought by Twitch.
I had left about a year and a half or so before the buyout. Yeah, maybe even 2 years. Yeah, about a year and a half, I'd say. Yeah, and I just I'm a very outspoken guy. Maybe you don't know that. Maybe
no.
Never
gotten that.
Yeah, I'm not a shy guy at all. And it got to a point where a couple things. I had checked off some bucket lists in my mind of helping EG. Like I was very proud of what we had accomplished, But I was on Live on 3, very popular talk show at the time.
Yep.
And we had this environment that is actually not so different than it is now, but it was the start of this like cancel culture, outrage culture about stuff, right? Before it was called that, before it had a name.
Yeah.
And you had to be really careful what your players said or what you said because kids would start writing emails to sponsors, right? And we had some very outspoken StarCraft guys, Idra, Huck.
Yep.
And I am a very outspoken guy, and it was a very, esports has always been Wild Westy, right? But it was very Wild West. Bad owners, bad players, bad TOs, people not getting paid. And that's why Live on 3 started. Me, Rod, and Marcus were like pissed. And so it was a very angry podcast for quite a while because we were very much wanted to call out the bullshit before us, right? And what I started feeling internally, not really from anyone, was that I'm losing my voice here because I now represent evil geniuses. I never wore a branded T-shirt, but you know the vibe, right? You're an owner of it. You still got to be respectful of now what you say does reflect on your sponsors because some kid's going to get pissed off and he's going to write Steel Series. Did you see what Scott said on that? That's unacceptable. And again, I don't use racist terms. I don't use homophobic terms. I'm not worried about those things, but I swear. And I'm outspoken about shit. I'm going to call bullshit on a peripheral sponsor. But then I started going, wait, are people going to think I'm calling out that sponsor because I'm sponsored by the other one, right? And so I was really like, I'm losing myself here.
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing, but I'm absolutely losing myself in this. So I had a nice long talk with Alex, and they were already planning on kind of moving. A bunch of them wanted to get in a brick and mortar building because you can be more productive when you're together with your creatives. And so they were already kind of thinking about moving to San Francisco. I had opened the Lair, which was where all the StarCraft players lived in Phoenix.
Yep.
And that was great, right, for what it was. But again, a lot of it was shifting towards San Fran. And I said, Alex, I'm never moving. I'm not moving to San Francisco with you. Like, I live here. This is my home.
No one's going to want to spend all that fucking cheese.
No, and I love where I live, man.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all these things lined up that, maybe it's a good time for me to step down, right? Because I don't like this anymore, right? And some of it, I think I've had some conversations on some interviews about some of the, like Huck and I used to go round and round, he was kind of divish. We've he was a young, you get to a point as an adult where you're kind of tired of babysitting. And there was a little bit of that with some of our players.
Not there yet.
And that's every player, not every player's like that, but like sometimes I'd sit back and go, why am I busting my ass for this kid? He seems so ungrateful.
Yeah.
Right? And again, he's living his own life. He's got his own problems, right? So like I'm just reading a side of it, right? And I was like, I don't like how any of this is turning me into a different guy. I'm yelling at players. I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole anyway, but it was the wrong kind of asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to course correct here. And so I did. I'm like, I've helped. We've achieved all these great things, Alex. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And again, none of us had any idea.
Is it being an asshole though if you're just being outspoken though? My wife says that I'm the nicest asshole anybody's ever gonna meet.
I guess it's how you determine what an asshole is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very outspoken. If I'm coming at you, you're gonna think I'm an asshole, right? But I don't know if Joe Blow at home thinks I was acting like an asshole, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of amicably said, hey man, like been here, done that, time to move on.
Not for my freedom. Not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. And they understood it, right? And I think on their side, they also probably got that. They saw the change in me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, time to do something else, man.
Yeah. But it was good though. It was a good separation.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good separation. Again, I had no idea that they would end up selling a couple years later. Like, that was all just gravy.
Yeah. Would that have changed your path?
No, because my shares were my shares.
Yeah.
I guess if anything, there was one point where during the negotiation, because they kept me in the loop because I had the paper, right?
Yeah.
And Alex was like, "Would you come back? And work with us at Twitch in San Francisco?" I'm like, "No." But thank you for asking.
Yeah.
No. Like it doesn't
no.
change the reasons I left, right?
Yeah.
I mean, better paycheck and benefits and all those goodies at Twitch, but
incredible weather.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll take the heat in Phoenix for the summer to the year-round whatever San Francisco might offer.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to feel the same way until I moved here to Texas. Now, the hotter it gets, the better for me. 24 winters in Chicago is just more than enough.
You have
for me.
humidity though. We have the dry. It is a dry heat. It is a big difference. It's sticky here today.
Yeah, I don't mind it. All right, let me take a quick break to say hello to the sponsors. But right after that, I want to ask you about when OpTic came to the scene and then you being super upset at the fact that we had paintball jerseys on. Do you remember that? You and Fuyas got into this mess. Anyway, let's give me a second. We'll come right back.
I don't know if I remember that.
No, you do. It was awesome. I was looking for the tweet to bring it up and be like, yo, you remember this? But it didn't. But let me give a quick shout out to our sponsors this week for the first time ever. Thank you so much. And I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. I am a big fan of bacon and meat. So Butcher Box coming in super hot. With a sponsorship for the podcast. When it comes to meat, quality matters. But there's more to it than just texture and tastes, okay? You got to take into consideration the cost of meat, obviously, the accessibility of the meat, and not everyone has a convenient access to the high-quality meat that you all deserve, that I deserve. Okay, it can be literally very hard for you to find 100% grass-fed, finished beef, free-range organic chicken, heritage breed pork, or wild-caught salmon at the grocery store. As I'm reading this, I'm quickly finding out that it's not just about beef up in this. We got everything, all walks of animal life. Tasty animal life. It's going to be good. Luckily, there's Butcher Box. Butcher Box believes that everyone deserves high-quality, humanely sourced meat. Love that. Very, 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 towards that. It's really easy to have Butcher Box meat just show up at your door. Never be without something to cook for dinner because there's always meat in the freezer. One less trip to the grocery store and a better and more affordable selection too. All right. I have personally not received it yet, but I have heard so much about it and I've done so much research on it that I know a buddy of mine has it and I know like the bacon is what's the most impressive part about it. But I do appreciate the fact, obviously, you can get chicken, salmon, and obviously the beef. All right, Butcher Box is no brainer. It's the best meat shipped right to my door, which means one less trip to the grocers. Options like 100% grass-fed and finished beef, free-range organic chicken, as I just mentioned, heritage pork, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, and sugar nitrate-free bacon. Bacon. And right now, Butcher Box is offering new members ground beef for life. Excuse me? Ground beef for life. That's 2 pounds of ground beef in every box for the life of the subscription, plus $20 off of their first box. Just go to butcherbox.com/eavesdrop or enter promo code eavesdrop at checkout. That's butcherbox.com/eavesdrop or promo code eavesdrop at the checkout. I'm going to give it to you one more time slowly this time so you guys don't miss out on this crazy opportunity. butcherbox.com/EAVESDROP or enter promo code eavesdrop at checkout. Hymns. Back again, Scott, this isn't about you, but obviously this is important, okay? The problem is that 66% of men lose their hair by the age of 35. The thing is that by the time that you start notice your hair loss, it's a bit too late. Not fully late, but it's a bit too late. It's easier to keep the hair that you have now than to replace the hair that you're gonna lose. Is that hairline slowly starting to move backwards? Any bald spots yet? Do you want a bald spot to pop out, or do you want to do something about it first? You definitely want to do something about it first. You don't want to wait. You want to be proactive on this thing. So why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? Forhims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual awareness for men. Okay, for men. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. If you've ever bought stuff from the counter from the gas station, besides gas and snacks, you need to reconsider what it is that you're doing. Okay, prescription solutions backed by science. No waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. Save hours by going to forhims.com. It's super easy. Products are shipped directly to your door. And right now, if you order, all of the listeners of the Eavesdrop podcast get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. Okay, you have to go to the website to see the full details and safety information. This would cost hundreds if you went to a doctor or pharmacy. Go for hims.com/eavesdrop. That's FORHIMS.com/eavesdrop. For hims.com/eavesdrop to get your $5 off on the trial for Hims at forhims.com/eavesdrop. And last but certainly not least, Manscaped. Manscaped is the #1 in men's below-the-belt grooming product ever. We received a whole bunch of stuff, Maddie. I gave you, and Scott, I might give you some of these towelettes that keep you fresh on travel days specifically. When you can't get to your hotel right away and you're in an Uber, don't do it in the Uber, just wait. You know what I'm saying? But this would help. You know, this would totally help if you get your own car at the thing. It'll be the best thing that you do. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. It's called the Lawnmower 2.0. Has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. It won't. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. I used to have a friend in high school, by the way, that used scissors to trim, ended up in the hospital. I'm not going to say that his name is Robert, okay? And I'm not going to tell you that his brother is one of my best friends, Angel. So I'm not going to tell you who it is, but he had that problem. So I'm actually going to get his address, Maddie. Remind me to get his address so we can send him some of this for him to never have that issue again. All right? So don't use the trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's just nasty. Agreed, 100%. Manscaped also has the crop preserver, an anti-chafing, ball deodorant, and moisturizer. You already put on deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? Some people. Get 20% off free shipping. 20% off plus free shipping with the code eavesdrop at manscaped.com. That is manscaped.com. And use the code eavesdrop to get that. Get 20% off free shipping with code eavesdrop at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com by using the code eavesdrop. Get with it. So huge shout out to all three of those sponsors for sponsoring the podcast. And I hope that you guys come back. Thank you so much. So you guys can help by going and dropping and giving them a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But help the podcast out, give them a try, and let's go. Definitely give them a try. So huge shout out to obviously Manscaped, Hims, and ButcherBox. I don't have the bacon from ButcherBox this time around, but when I get it, I'll ship you some. All right, so there was this.
You heard that, right?
Yeah,
don't cut that.
Yeah, no, don't cut it. I'm sending you some. When we first stepped onto the scene, you were, I don't know, you're outspoken as you were, but you were like super anti the jerseys that we were wearing. And they were like paintball jerseys, and you made a tweet about it, and then Fwiz called you old or something. And I'm talking about like 2010.
Yeah. Now I think I know because I think I watched you on the B. I think I watched the team on the B stream, like in the little island at MLG. You know, you had the little B stream.
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah. What? How did that change anything? Like obviously esports evolves and everything's an ever changing thing. But at what point did you see the change in tides where it's like it's not, you know, the console thing may become something like big? That's the other thing about as I was talking about earlier on the franchising thing. Like if I would have listened to everybody from the beginning that said Call of Duty because it's a console is not going to be very big esport and this and that, like I don't think that ever crossed my mind as like an impediment of something that I wouldn't do because of what other people thought. And you know, obviously that now it's becoming a little bit more. And I say now, I mean like the last 5 years has been a little bit easier between the keyboard and mouse console. It becomes it becomes more of a meme than anything nowadays. But did you see like a true change in from an outside perspective, obviously in the console esport movement once? I don't remember what changed, and I was right there for it, front and center. And I don't remember what it was that changed that made other people be like, okay, this is sort of becoming something.
I think in some regards, well, first off, Call of Duty 4 on PC, Pro Mod, best version of Call of Duty ever.
Agreed.
So
I wish that I would have started on PC because I'm nasty. I don't know if you've seen my Battalion 1944 clips, but I'm disgusting. Go on.
I think. Well, because I think we as PC guys got a taste of MLG earlier than a lot of other PC guys because, again, they bought us. So we went to some of their events. We actually we taught them, like back in the day, MLG would record on DVDs, then edit it and put all the stuff up. So we, literally, Jason and I showed Ryan and those guys how to live broadcast your stuff, how to put graphics up. And I switched their very first live Meadowlands event at their switcher for them as they learned everything. But that was the first thing. Going to MLGs opened my eyes to basically a whole other world of competitive gamers because I was a PC guy. Yeah, I knew consoles. I had a console, but not in a competitive. And so walking in and seeing those events, period, were like, oh shit, there is a whole other world that's not CPL. That's not our world. That's doing the exact same shit, right? I think where it really blew up was when we had the merge, when MLG started to do PC stuff. They started with WoW, but then when StarCraft 2 blew up and you had the best console players in the building and the best StarCrafters in the building, that was a really interesting dynamic.
You got
the bros and the weebs, right?
Yeah.
It was very interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And some of those bars at night were very interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the Anaheim nights, man, were crazy. But I think that's when the light bulb went off for a lot of us because, again, that's when we were starting to get free bandwidth. We could stream. There was a way to make money on the broadcast side of it. And that's certainly when MLG started to ramp up. And that's when I think those StarCraft 2 events was really when I was like, they're just gaming on a different platform, man. But they're just as goddamn good, right?
Yeah.
And obviously at EG we had console players as well, right? So, and I, you can have the debate of like, aim. Yeah, you have aim assist. You need that, don't you? Because your controller's so shitty, right? But that's all. Like, I don't give.
What I've realized as a console player now, an excellent PC player, is the fact that it's harder.
It is harder
to use two thumbs.
It's so much harder.
It's crazy. When I just point and click, I'm disgusting.
Yep.
But to me, that's obviously never been a big thing because at the end of the day, it's like we're just playing a different sport or with a different bat.
Exactly.
Baseball, to those who don't know what it is, it's a very old game here in the United States where you hit a ball and then you run bases. For those who don't know what baseball is.
But your point about the jerseys, I think the point I made, because we were coming from this fairly traditional, we're still in T-shirts. It's like a NASCAR. And it's logoed. And you guys were already coming from a fashion, creative, different vibe. I mean, you were building the Green Wall, right? And so all your shit was always a little different, right? You had you had pro teams on your world that were more like us in the sense of how they dressed and how they wore their shit, but you guys were already kind of pushing this different vibe.
Yeah,
And I think I gave Quiz shit about that. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck are you
we're
wearing?
the first ones to bring paintball jerseys to the thing, and then after that, every Call of Duty team had it. I mean, to this day, you see the reverbs of that switch. Even EG switched over to a more jersey like, but guys, I love the fact that you guys had the T-shirt. For me, was like so iconic to the brand of EG that I was just like, why would you ever change that? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what I did was that I obviously with a business mind wanted to sell as much merch as we can. I used to have on Friday all the pros would wear the pro T-shirt, which had it's just a logo and the sponsors, and then on Saturday it would be the black jerseys, and then on Sunday the championship white jerseys, because it was all about like. I didn't know.
So you already had the game on that, though. You didn't know it.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know it. What I knew is that I needed to pay for the next event. What I knew is that I needed to fly me, more importantly, than and the players to events, and I knew that I needed to sell T-shirts, and at the same time create the culture that we ended up.
And that's so opposite. Like, because even to this day, like the PC teams are catching up on merch, right? Merch was an expense to us, right? What do you mean sell our shirts? Like, Jesus, we can barely make them to give them to the players. But they were just a billboard for us, right? That's how we got paid. But you were already not getting paid that way. So in the meantime, you were figuring out how to get paid, which is your own merch.
Yeah.
But that built a fan base that you can't, like, what a way to build it, right? Like it's big brain thinking before you were even thinking about it.
Yeah, like as much as I like to consider myself a good businessman now that I've did what I did, back in the day, and I've said this to many businessmen with degrees and stuff that I've spoken to, that I am glad that I didn't go to business school and know that raising money was an option.
Yeah,
I didn't know that borrowing money was an option. It never hit my brain. It was always about how do we make more money? How do we make more money? How do we can do the whole nine?
Yep.
Had I known that I could have taken some easy shortcuts and borrowed money or got an investment, like who the fuck knows where we would have been?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I
bet that scrappiness is exactly why you built what you built.
Oh, 100%. And I think that goes. Everybody in esports has a sort of level of scrappiness. Maybe not the new teams. No offense that are coming into the space, but I guess we don't know, and we won't know for another 5 to 10 years what the right approach would have been. You know what I'm
maybe
saying?
there's multiple. Maybe there is no perfect.
What's the third?
Maybe it's a combination of a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
I always wondered, and this is something that always baffled me and sort of raised the allure of the evil geniuses machine, because I always used to, and Nate and I used to sit down and like, how the fuck are they getting sponsors? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they selling? And it's not like I could have gone to Alex and be like, yo, maybe I should have, and he would have probably helped. But I never knew like what it was how it was that you guys were getting so many fucking sponsors. I'm like, we have all of the views. I'm like, look at our views, and then we would compare, and then we see. I'm like, we're doing something wrong, and I am not a smart enough businessman to know, and I don't even know who to ask.
Yeah.
In that scenario, but it was always like incredible to me the amount of like when Monster came on with obviously all the PC stuff, and I'm like, man, how do I explain to PC companies that even though we're a console team, we create content on a fucking computer, and kids want to create content and be YouTubers. In the past, nobody wanted to be YouTubers, but we're like, everybody's gonna want to be a YouTuber. It's so accessible. Everyone's gonna be like, sponsor us. We're gonna.
Yep.
Never happened.
They didn't understand YouTube.
Yeah.
They didn't get what you. They didn't get what you had before you.
I explained. I went to Steel Series, and at the time they were sponsoring you guys and some other people, and I went to their headquarters in Chicago with our trophy, our first trophy ever, sitting right there. And I sat in the middle, and we had a conversation. And I'm like, all right, I fucking printed pamphlets and booklets and shit. And I'm like, here's our growth. Here's where we plan to be. This is why you should sponsor us. And I remember clearly, I'm like, this is why you should sponsor us, because no matter what, whether we bring one of these and I knocked on the trophy or not, we're still gonna have 200,000 views on a video on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's why you should sponsor us. And they still didn't get it. And I was just like mind blown that something so common sense to me wasn't common sense at all.
See, now they would think about you being a lifestyle opportunity, and they should invest. Whereas before they were like, well, yeah, but you guys don't use keyboards, you don't use mice, you don't use.
Yeah.
Maybe, they probably went, oh, I guess you can maybe use our headsets. But wait, our headsets aren't that good on consoles. So yeah, like they didn't see the natural fit, right? But the natural fit is your audience on YouTube, not necessarily having to use but they need, again, they're like a golf club company. They want you to swing their clubs, right? But I think that's even lessened now. But back then, like you didn't like they didn't think about YouTube like they would now.
Yeah, it's insane to me. Like it was, and I guess that's good, right? We sort of took advantage of a hole, a massive, missing.
Yep.
Whatever that we came in and plugged in and succeeded in a sense. Where are you today, man? Like, what are you doing? Obviously, you did your legendary esports stuff. You're now obviously helping players, which to me it's like awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's good. Do you plan on expanding into other esports, or are you just a Counter-Strike player friendly, or do you already work with other?
Oh no,
esports?
So the player association is Counter-Strike only. I mean, just like professional sports, they kind of have to be done by sport.
Yeah.
Even though we all play video games, like the nuances of it and what a Counter-Strike player cares about versus a League of Legends guy, the ecosystems are different. So definitely Counter-Strike only, although I've given plenty of advice to player groups and other games that are trying to figure out how to do it, and explaining how we did it and why we did it, why the players did it. So yeah, I'm an advisor to the PA. Now we're officially up and running, and it is a legalized thing. That fight started about 2 years ago, but now it's a real deal organization, starting to work on like CBAs, so to speak, if you will, with all the other tournament organizers and discussing stuff with Valve. So that's really, really cool, but that's a passion project. I'm a volunteer, if you will. I don't get paid. But yeah, I don't see it itself worrying about other games. It needs to be focused.
Yeah. I know that there's if I wouldn't have hopped back in to what I'm doing now, I would have gone your route. I would have gone and been a player rep of some sorts, because I think we did a really good job in always having that. And maybe it was easier for me because they're my friends, and they were like my kids, not my kids, but like my younger brothers. But I'm glad that you're doing that, specifically in Counter-Strike, because to this day, I'll say Counter-Strike is the easiest and most exciting esport to watch for me. Obviously, other people like other things, but as a Call of Duty lover, you don't see any Counter-Strike stuff here. But hopefully one day we will.
I'll send you some.
So I wish that I had more old stuff from the days, but I think, and I always talk about this any single time that I'm talking about anybody in Counter-Strike, I always say that the problem with Counter-Strike right now is the amount of fucking games that are going.
Sure.
And it's difficult and tough for the players, though, too, right? For like, weekend after weekend after weekend. Tarek posted something that he hadn't been home in 6 months. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What kind of lifestyle is that for a player? But more importantly, let's think bigger. How do we make Counter-Strike continue to be exciting? And it's not by watching Astralis play Liquid, or Astralis play Liquid, or Astralis play Liquid week after week after fucking weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where do you begin?
I mean, I think part of it is, it's a little bit of natural selection. So I would say even a couple of years ago, when we had even more tournament organizers, Gfinity was throwing events, and even more people were dipping, because there was a time when Counter-Strike was the hot new game to get into. We're not that anymore. Like Fortnite is here, and there's other games here. The Battle Royale genre is blown up entirely. So a little bit of natural selection. People dip their toes in, try to see if they can find a place. And if they can't, they dip out. E-League dipped back out, right? They don't do Counter-Strike anymore. So a little bit of natural selection. But again, if you enter Counter-Strike, you're competing against ESL and DreamHack. They are the market share of our tournaments. Run the Pro League. We do have ECS running a Pro League as well, if you will. But really, when it comes to our big events, it's kind of ESL's world, and everybody else kind of plays in it. Yeah. I think
they do a great job. So
they do a great job. They've earned that.
I'm okay
They've
with
been
it.
here as long as all of us,
yeah.
right? The core of ESL goes back 20 plus years too. So they definitely have righted their ship. A couple years ago, they got a lot of grief for how they did events, but they've turned that all around. I think how you fix it is you give, again, like we've already started to do, players have agency over where they go, right? So they are starting to naturally figure out, like, look, if we go to every freaking event, we're not going to win any of them. Better to skip one. Astralis, prime example. They started skipping events. They started winning the events they showed up to. Now, this last little row, they skipped maybe too many.
Yeah.
But everyone forgets that they skipped events before they made their run too, right? So it's players and their management figuring out, okay, what makes sense. We don't have to go everywhere. But again, when you're in the world of a sponsor paid business, that shirt's got to be on a stage every weekend, right? Or I don't get paid.
Yeah.
So owners have to understand that, look, it's better to skip because we'll do better, we'll win more. Because how do you fix what you broke? We got our ass kicked last weekend, but if we have to if we come home for 2 days and have to get right back on airplanes, we're never going to fix what happened last weekend.
Not only do you not have personal time to wind down from the fucking adrenaline rush that you just went through the sadness of losing or the or the high intensity of winning, you also have to concentrate on like how do you continue to win, or how do you fix what you lost. Like you have no time for that. And as a fan, and I am, I stopped watching regularly like a year ago, man.
Yeah, and it used to be worse. Our pro leagues used to be online only. So like the EPL and the ECS was online. So it was even less valuable because I just saw Astralis play Liquid at an event. Now they're going to play Tuesday from their homes in a best of one. Like, so those numbers drop. No one watches that, but the players still have to play it, right? So like now I've flown home and I got to play these online matches and then get back on an airplane. So I think some of that is, and these leagues have kind of separated. ESL has gone to a land-based week league at a time. So ECS
amazing shows.
Yeah. So it all makes sense that kind of naturally we're figuring this out. I think you're going to probably see a little bit of a fight on the big boys. You know, Valve has said you can't have exclusive leagues anymore, but that won't stop leagues from stepping on top of each other. That's how they'll make them exclusive. Like you can't put in your bylaws, if you play in this league, you can't play in this league. But now if I put this league and it overlaps your league, by virtue of you wanting to be in my league, you're not going to be able to play in the other one. So they're gonna fight in different ways. You watch. So and maybe we need a little bit of that consolidation. Maybe we need a little bit. Like I don't think we're ever going to get to a 24 teams franchise model, and that's the only teams in Counter-Strike.
You don't think that would?
I don't think Valve will ever close the door like a Riot or an Overwatch, but you never know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very vocal about the city-based franchising, and obviously I say that very biasedly because we were able to build. Luckily, we're able to build a fan base, big enough to where it transcends borders and waters. But I think that in a Valve situation, it would make perfect sense because then you can really have the storylines throughout a season. I mean, you already have the best spectator in fucking esport. All you need is to plan out when and how often not to play those things.
Yeah, and Valve's getting better on that. They used to not really pay it. Like when it comes to Counter-Strike, Valve doesn't necessarily manage the esports ecosystem like they do with Dota or like other devs do with their game. They are very... Let the third parties fight over it. Here's your license. Don't mess with these major dates, and you all have fun. They're very hands-off. Now, whether they should be or not is anyone's guess, right? They're not that way with Dota. They're very hands-on. So in absence of that, you have tournament organizers that just, it's cannibalized. Like, let's just jump on everything, right? But what I think with what ESL has announced, where their pro league is going to tie into this series of LAN events, and there's a continuity there, and that's your storyline that goes all the way through, right? The Intel Grand Slam, win 6 of these, you win $1 million. Used to be win 4 of them. They've changed that because they gave away $2 million, right? Bad idea. I'm sure the Intel guy's like, wait, I thought you told me no one was going to win 4. And then Astralis wins. But I thought you told me no one would do it again. Yeah. And Liquid does it quicker. It's like, ooh. So I think that ESL product is going to lean more towards this kind of continuous year-round storyline. Now, while they build that, they are going to try to put everybody else out of business as they do it, though, right?
Yeah.
So, and I like competition. I think if ESL has a Star Ladder or a Blast or anyone to push against them, that makes them all better. The minute one guy owns it all, he can sit back a little bit. I don't want anyone to ever sit back. But we are a little oversaturated. Liquid, like 240 some odd days on the road last year, right? Already booking to do the exact same thing this year. Now, thankfully, what we've done is Valve has figured out when the majors are, and we have been able to set with the PA an official month-long player break in the summer. So regardless of how hard they work in those 6 months, they get 30 days off, right? No tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone gets their winter break. So they've got some good breaks, but it's not like pro sports where you've got a full season and a good chunk of off season. It's just a little bit of a break, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think Valve is going to, like, in a perfect world, Valve would sit down with the calendar and go, okay, we're going to make this better for all of you, even though you don't think it. We're going to make sure you don't step on each other.
Yeah.
Here's your window, ESL, then we're going to lead. Like, I've always said to these guys, like, because they do their leagues at the same time, right? But what if it was the ESL league in the winter that led to the ECS league in the summer, or, spring, fall, summer, winter, spring. But right now they're kind of step on each other. But the storylines could talk to each other, right? Oh, these are the EPL champions. Now they're going to start their run at ECS. but that would mean 2 TOs having a nod to each other and play friendly.
Yeah.
But that's how you as a fan, because I don't care if it's an ESL event or a Blast event.
Yeah.
It's Astralis and Liquid to me on a stage, right?
Yeah.
So, but getting businesses to play that nice when no one's helping regulate them playing nice is really difficult, right?
It's a cold cut world.
It is a cold cut world, man.
And I like it.
I like it, but it definitely creates some challenges for everybody.
I don't know about any other esport that has that same sort of problem with the oversaturation of it, but I do think that, and very biasedly, obviously, from a spectator standpoint, I want to see those.
Yeah.
Like the reason that I stopped watching UFC, the way that I used to follow UFC is because there's a fucking fight every weekend. I'm good.
Yep.
You know, I want to see people fight like every so often. I only want to see major cards and get introduced through the Ultimate Fighter to new fighters and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's definitely something that needs to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know. And maybe you're the guy to do it because of...
Well, and the Player Association is certainly trying to do our part to at least unify the player voice and present that voice to everybody else in the ecosystem, you know?
Yeah.
And will it all be perfectly listened to? No. But you got to at least be at the table, right? So we're at the table now. For years, we weren't even at the table.
Yeah,
so.
well, that's good. I think they picked the right guy to rep them because you're very outspoken and you have a clean slate, which in how many years? 20 years that you've been
About
in this
20
thing?
years, yeah.
That's good. That's a good record to have. So on that, what are you up to now? Tell me everything.
Yeah. So the cool thing,
He told me not to ask you like, you know, everything because you'll tell me everything. So tell me everything.
Yeah, I mean the cool thing that so obviously my best buddy Jason Alchemist Baker, also producer, director, you know, again with me at GotFrag, went on to run E-League's production for all their Counter-Strike, went on to open the first season of Overwatch, training all the in-game observers. His whole team ran all the observing. Jason is a master of figuring out a game and then figuring out how to tell the story of the round or the game for the fan, how to turn it into that sport and show that, right? So we've been, you know, ever since we stopped working at GotFrag, we've always been like, God, wouldn't it be cool? Like, what about this show idea? Always just bouncing shit off each other. Like he worked the MLG Columbus Major, so I was the host of that, and he was behind the scenes. So like we've had a few things where we've been able to work together, but not like we used to. And in January, I get a call from a friend of mine in town who owns a small esports consultant firm, teaches a class at ASU, and he's like, "Hey man, there's a studio in Scottsdale that is looking to get into gaming and esports, and you know you're the guy in town. You know, I know you're retired, but go meet these guys. Seems like a cool place, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." Yeah. And I've been thinking for the last couple year or so. Like, I also have a problem. I'm very outspoken, but I have a problem with myself being so outspoken, but like sitting back and not being involved. Like my dad had a saying. He didn't make up the saying, but he had a little plaque on his desk. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Right. And it always, again, not his saying, but it always stuck with me. And I'm like, I'm sitting back here being my asshole self, but I'm not helping anymore. The player thing, yes, but I'm not involved in the world anymore. I stepped away. And so it's kind of disingenuous to sit over here and go, "Hey, y'all fucking doing it wrong again." Like I felt bad about it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I didn't want to just go back and be a host or be a producer for somebody else, because that's a day wage job. And then there's no grit there, right? You don't own anything. And it's a lot of travel. My elderly mom lives with me. I take care of my mom, so I wanted to travel less. So I wasn't going to go back into event logistics, and I didn't want to go back into what I was doing freelance in esports. So I take this meeting. I go down. I meet this guy, Ben, who you met. He's here. And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And so he shows me this world-class broadcast facility, sound stages, like big, nice, gorgeous studio in Scottsdale, Arizona, in a nice part of town. And I didn't really do my due diligence on who owned the building or anything. So I get the whole tour. And again, it's beautiful. Control rooms like you'd see at Turner Sports, like 4,000 square foot sound stage, another 600 foot sound stage that does full audio broadcast. You could bring a full band in there and record an album if you wanted to. And I'm literally blown away. I'm walking around 4K cameras on pedestals that cost more than my car and shit. I'm like, we get the whole tour done and we sit in this boardroom that is literally an airplane wing with a big glass thing on it. And it's this beautiful conference room. I'm like, all right, Ben, what the fuck? Where did this thing come from? Who owns this thing? Why is it in a beautiful part of Scottsdale, Arizona? Because most production facilities are in warehousey parts of
Yeah,
town
the
because you
outskirts.
need big space,
Of
right?
course.
So they're not in nice parts of town. In Scottsdale is kind of like our Beverly Hills, our fancy area. Phoenix, that's where the big resorts are, golf, tennis, all that stuff. And so he's like, oh, this is owned by Mr. Parsons. And I'm like, Mr. Parsons, that rings a bell. He's like, yeah, Bob Parsons used to own GoDaddy. And I'm like, oh, that guy, right? And so billionaire, lives in town, basically built QuickBooks before it was QuickBooks, sold it to Intuit, then built GoDaddy, sold that away slowly but surely, and now has sold it all. Billionaire, he's on Bill Gates and Melinda Gates. Like, I think it's called the giving list, where you're pledged to give half your wealth in your lifetime away, right? Him and his wife, they have their own foundation, super wealthy guy, right? And he owns like 13, 15 or so businesses in town, owns the largest Harley-Davidson dealership in North America, big bike guy, big golf guy, owns a golf course in town, private golf course, owns a golf club company, PXG, makes custom golf clubs, sponsors pro golfers. And I guess, the nature of the studio being built is he used to take all his production business, all his commercials, because he's got commercials and all that kind of stuff. He used to take all that work to LA, right? And he got tired of it.
Arm and a leg.
And he's like, I want to build this, and I want to build it right next to my dealership. I want to, because he owns all this land in North Scottsdale. And he literally built, like a stupidly nice facility to make all his commercials. And then the idea was, we can maybe make movies here. Other people in town can rent the facility, make their commercials, and that's how we'll biz dev this thing, right? And we don't give tax credits in Arizona yet, so the movie industry never really showed up. It's all being lobbied right now, but you could film pieces of Avatar in this green screen area, right? That's what it's built for. Like, the floor is cushioned, so it there's no audio, quiet AC. Like, it's built. It's stupidly nice, Hector, right? It still smells like a new car when I'm there too, right? Not getting a whole lot of business, right? They had the AAF in there this last year, the football league that didn't quite CBS Sports hired these guys. So when I was in there checking it out, they were prepping for the AAF, right? They did the broadcast desk there, the play-by-play color, the halftime desk, the whole 9 yards, and did a game every week out of this facility. And so he's like, yeah, Parsons built this, he was tired of going to LA, so he just built it, right? And I'm just blown away, right? So I'm like, interesting. And so I leave the meeting and I'm like, maybe I would go work for these guys, because Ben and the guys that are there know sports, they know live TV, but they don't know crap about gaming and esports, but what their biz devin is very similar, right? Pro sports and pro esports, right? You need kind of the same shit, right? Actually, it's harder to do esports than it is pro sports, because not only do you need all the cameras that pro sports have, we need about 5 more inside the game, right? Because we have to observe the game, right? So it's even harder than just static cameras watching a football. Right, we tell our games differently because we can get inside those games, right? So I was like, yeah, maybe I'd go to work for them, right? So then I called Jason, my good buddy. I'm like, dude, I'm like, you're not gonna believe, and this thing is literally 15 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
like 3 lefts out of my garage, and I'm at the office. I'm like, this is great, Jason. You're not going to believe this place. And I just start ranting to him about how awesome this place is, right? And Jason worked at Turner Sports, right? He worked in the mecca of sports broadcaster. And I'm like, dude, this place is sick. And Jason had got hired by these guys at GG Group they own Rivalry, the sports book. The parent company, Pummel, PMML, Canadian investors, super nice guys. Wanted to spend their money right, trying to figure out where to spend their money. And they hired Jason because they're thinking about building a studio somewhere. They sponsor a lot of Richard Lewis's content. They own a gaming team, Chaos, in Atlanta. So they wanted an esports studio, right? Nothing like I had just seen. So Jason was on a consulting feed to help them figure out, should it be in Toronto? Should it be in Atlanta? And then once we built, how much square foot do we need? What gear do we buy? Do we buy TriCasters? Do we buy something else? What kind of cameras? So Jason is kind of helping them figure out all of this, right? And so I call him like, dude, I didn't know he was doing this at the time. I'm like, bro. And he's like, well, I'm talking to these guys about a studio. And I'm like, I just saw a studio, bro. So I'm like, you all need to come see this, because if they don't care where the studio is, maybe this is the place, and it's already built. So him and the investor, Steven, come down. They see it. They vet that I'm not losing my mind on how nice this is. And out of that meeting with Sneaky Big, the name of the studio is Sneaky Big in Scottsdale, we formed a company. Sneaky Big is letting us embed this company in their company, basically a production company inside a production facility, right? With obviously rates that are out of the world for us. It makes perfect sense for us to be in there, right? So they're a partner, but they're not necessarily an ownership partner, right? But they're kind of a facilities partner, right?
Yeah.
And what it allows Ben to do at Sneaky Big is like, he has people in the building he trusts. So if anyone talks to him about gaming or esports, he can lean on us, and vice versa. We can lean on them for all the sports stuff. So, we have studio space. We use their studio space. We're going to have our own little studio space, similar to kind of what you have going on here. But we also have office space because we're going to build out to maybe have 15 or so employees eventually in this place. And the idea is that we're going to do original programming. So we'll have weekly shows, news shows, opinion shows. I'm going to have a weekly show where I get to rant, right? And then obviously the world of white labeling, other people's content, helping tournament organizers. We want to be very additive to the scene.
Good.
I'm not looking to be ESL. I want to help ESL. Right?
Yeah.
How can we make shoulder content for you? How can we help you with stuff, right? How can we film commercials for teams, right? Because you have to film your HyperX commercials. You have to film all these things. This facility can help you with those things. So very additive.
And in Phoenix, so it's going to be super affordable.
Yeah, super. 45-minute flight from LA, right? And again, where he put this thing, you could stay at a $50 nice motel, or you could stay at the West in Kierland for $200 a night. 5-star versus, regular motel. So the range for a team of whatever they want to put there, food, all that close to the air, 15 minutes from Sky Harbor Airport, right up the freeway, just all around perfect. And the town itself doesn't do much esports. So if we can do anything to attract esports events, it's 5th largest city in the country, Phoenix, right? Scottsdale's just a suburb of Phoenix, right? So if we can figure out how to activate some of these arenas as well in our town and bring business to the area, because no one comes to Arizona, right? I don't know why. Well, I know why, because I asked Apicella years ago when they were doing, their tours. I'm like, why don't you ever come to Phoenix, man? We got a great convention center, especially in the summer when you do your tours, dirt cheap rates. It's warm, so it's cheap, right? And he's like,
warm? Is that what you call it?
Warm.
Yeah.
Warm. And he was like, we can't. There was a law on the books. It's still on the books.
Oh, yeah.
That basically, their lawyers interpreted as
no gaming.
No gaming. It's a game of chance. Because what MLG charges for a team pass, right? You buy in. So they ruled that as your VIG into a gambling type event, even though it's really a game of skill, right? Yes, you're buying a team pass, but there's no randomness to winning the event like gambling, right? So
betting on yourself.
His lawyers years ago said, just stay away from Arizona. And so they did. That's right. And so I think that trickled out to everybody else, and they all just stayed away. But now you talk to the CVB, the Convention Visitor Bureau, and they're like, no, man. Like that, New world, grandfather law doesn't really matter anymore. So we want to see if we can get some of these tier ones, because we have big arenas too, right? But the studio is built to do remote productions, right? So they already can do like remote football games, basketball games, because the internet is caught up to where you can send all your cameras. So the days of like the NFL rolling 10 trucks into a parking lot to do Monday Night Football, now they send 5 trucks. And those 5 other trucks are actually permanent control rooms in whatever building is doing it. And they just beam it all back, right? Turner does that with basketball games. A lot of people do their halftime shows already remotely, but now they're starting to figure out how to do the actual games remotely. And Sneaky Big is doing that. They did AAF remotely. They're biz deving, all sorts of stuff, golf, football, all sorts of different stuff. So maybe there's a world for us to help, maybe ESL doesn't need to send the analyst desk to China. We can do the analyst desk from here. And we'll just how do we remote that kind of stuff? So lots of future stuff out of this building as well that we're very excited about. But again, like if you came to me as a VC guy and said, Scott, I'll write you a blank check, build an esports studio, I would never build something this nice. I would. It's too nice in that sense. It's kind of like walking around what Lake's got at the Cowboys. It's like this is beyond nice, right?
It's
like
incredible facility.
Just the spit and polish to it, And again, this place, 4K cameras on pedestal. Again, it's like a TV production studio. So again, when I was like, when it worked out, I was like, I guess this is what I'm doing. This is what's getting me off the couch. So, Jason and I founded this thing, co-owners of it. Obviously, we have an investment group that owns a piece of it as well. Good chunk of it, as you know how that goes. But I think the coolest thing about it for us is a world-class facility. We don't have to worry about any of the tech shit. Like, I don't have to upgrade the cameras. I don't have to upgrade anything. Like that's someone else's white, like no more white balance in the cameras, no more, world-class stuff, right? Yeah. And so we can focus our money and our capital on the content creation side of it, right? and the staffing to build that part of the engine, right? So it's an amazing partnership. And again, Mr. Parsons is very entrepreneurial, and so are all his employees. So Sneaky Big is very entrepreneurial. They're loving us in the building, right? Like Ben just got back from Europe, big broadcasting show, IBC, and like he can now say, "Oh yeah, I don't know esports, but we got guys in the building that do. Have you heard of these guys?" And they're like, "Oh shit, they're in your building." Yeah. So it opens what he's biz deving. It makes it easier for him to have those conversations because, like, he might biz dev it, but then he'll turn it over to us because we know how to show in-game stuff. We know how to do those kind of content in production.
We know how to sell it.
So yeah, that's what we're doing. Do Not Peak Entertainment, man.
I like really it. Excited. I like the name.
Yeah.
Don't peek.
Don't peek. It's right. Don't peek.
Especially when I have the that op in my hand.
Exactly. Don't peek. Yeah, and so that's what we're doing. So that's my new thing. I'm out of retirement, still doing the player thing, but now full-on content creation studio. And I get to stay home and do it, though. I get to drive to work every day.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm
cool.
I'm 8 to, it was like, let's call it 15 minutes. I'm 15 minutes from home.
About the same.
Yeah, and it's super easy to get here. I used to ride my motorcycle or my Super 73, but got way too hot.
Yeah.
Tires started fucking melting. I'm like, I can't do this.
Too hot.
No.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. And again, I get to go to work every day with my best mate. And even things that, like, we talk about shit that we talked about at GotFragtv in our little studio with MLG sponsorship going, wouldn't it be cool if we could? And now we're like, we can actually do that now.
Yeah.
That makes sense business-wise, and it's something you could actually do now that maybe you couldn't have done back then. So, yeah, just, again, pinching myself every day at work still.
That's amazing, bro. Yeah,
very excited.
Well, I look forward to the content that's going to be coming out of there. Why are you in town?
I'm in town because Jason actually is on an SVG panel. SVG stands for Sports Video Group, and they're a broadcast lobbyist company that throws business panels, SVGs, all around the world, and they bring people that make the gear in, people that use the gear in, and this one is at the Arlington Stadium.
Yeah.
So very esports focused. So you got guys from the sports world, the guys from the gear world, and esports guys. So they invited Jason to come talk about telling the story of a Counter-Strike match. How do you tell that? So he's on a panel. Ben ended up being on a panel as well, and I'm like, I'm coming along because I told Lake I want to come see your facility. I knew you were in town, and then I remembered Hastro was in town, so like, let's just see everybody.
Yeah,
and we're kind of giving.
Who'd you create content with while you were here?
You.
Come on, man.
You, dog. You. No one was ready for me. No. You were ready for me. That's the very first thing you said to me was like, Eavesdrop.
Yeah. Eavesdrop. I think about me first. You know what I'm saying?
Content is king, baby. And it was neat because we're kind of teaching Ben the world, so him to see these different facilities, how they're differently built, and you're very different than what Complexity has. And obviously, Mike is building upstairs out. Very, very different stuff. And so tomorrow it's an all-day panel.
This is me though. This is no backing. This is just me. They have.
Yeah, they got all that money.
Yeah, they got excellent partners.
They got all that money. This is a pretty cool vibe too, though. This is your vibe.
Oh, it's excellent. Yeah, you're kidding me? Of course. I'm so proud of it. Like, I come in here and I'm like, damn, I wish my basement, if Texas had basements, would look like this.
Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah.
So I'm here to support those guys tomorrow at the panel, and obviously do some biz dev talking to other people in the building, and then I'm off to TwitchCon, and they all go home.
Very cool. So, I'm not going to TwitchCon this year. Too much going on, as you can probably tell.
You're a little busy, right? The announcement.
Yeah, but I'm happy though. I'm excited about the new journey. I'm excited about the new thing, and I'm excited for you too, dude. Yeah. Jinx.
Boom, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little. I wouldn't say nervous or worried about you because obviously no reason to beat you. Those things, but. Again, same kind of thing. I'm glad you found something to get back in.
Yeah. I got really lucky with Andy coming. He came here like 2 months ago through the Sundance introduction. He came to visit. We hung out, took a picture of him, put it on the wall. I'm gonna take a picture, put it on the wall, and we got to talking, and then we just kept talking and talking and talking. We were just like, I finally felt comfortable enough to be like, yeah. Let's do this thing.
Good for you.
So
that's a big change for you. Big risk. I mean, you're literally. I mean, you're going to try to rebuild your thing, but in a way, it is a competitive brand. And all those kind of things. But.
I'm. The weird thing is, I keep saying is that I need to get used to being NRG Hecz.
Yeah.
Energy Hecz.
Yep.
Because I don't think I'll ever get used to not being OpTic Hecz.
Absolutely.
But anyway. Thank you for stopping by, brother. I appreciate you.
Man.
When's the next time that we should do like a I'm trying to get the next podcast. So what I'm doing, just so you know, the strategy here is that I do individual podcasts like this, but then I want to get a group together, and I want to get like a good Counter-Strike group together to have another Eavesdrop and talk business in the business of Counter-Strike.
Why don't you let us do that with you in Scottsdale?
Why
don't we host that?
Yeah.
You can have the content, but
But then what's Maddie gonna do? He loves doing these
Maddie
things.
can come sit in our control room and help call the show.
He's not. He's gonna be pushing buttons and shit.
And we can do it live. I mean, yeah, it's your live. I'm not trying to
eventually this is gonna be live as soon as Maddie figures out how to do it. Okay, it'll be as soon as I figure out how to do it. He's just waiting. But yeah, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Again, I'll reach out and then figure out the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and if you're ever in my neck of the woods, like obviously when we start doing content, I will want to do a phone interview with you or something, or get you in the building.
I will fly in on my own dime, mark it down.
Yeah,
as long as it works with my schedule.
Yeah,
I will be there.
We'll work it out, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode number 43. Goddamn, 20 after Michael Jordan, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, best basketball player in the world, and that the world has ever seen, will ever see, in my opinion. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you guys again. Huge shout out to Manscaped, Hymns, and of course ButcherBox. And I always bring up the fact that we don't have the bacon yet, Matt, and I'm upset about it. Anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.